Payal, tell me, what does success mean to
Yes.
you?
I think for me, it's always it's adding value. It's contributing, improving, bettering. Like I feel like at every step of the way, if I have bettered my financial situation, if I've improved somebody's life, if I've bettered where I am, like where I was from last year, I'm a much more calmer person. I feel like I'm successful for everything. Like I feel at the end of the day. I feel that I've been successful in what I'm meant to do, whether it's with my kids, and even as a mom, like for me, success is, when I see that my child finally says his please and thank yous, and I'm like, okay, I've done a good job.
Hello, and welcome to Indian Explorers. In this podcast, we talk about Indian success stories. I am Sabrina, and together with my co host Amit, we will get to understand the journey of our guests and what really drives them. The optimism, patience, idealism, and courage, these are the attributes of our guests that we want to bring to life in these conversations. So if you enjoy the show, please subscribe, share it with others, and help us find our next guest. So excited to be here today, Amit. How's it going?
Good morning. How are you doing, Sabrina?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to our conversation today because we said we're not going to do wins and fails. You had another topic you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, it's been bugging me a little bit. And given you are in the land of the free and in the greatest country in the world, I wanted to get your thoughts. A few weeks ago, the Supreme Court banned affirmative action. But before we talk about that, let's give context of what affirmative action is. Um, I'll try to explain it in my words, and then you can, give the American version if I missed anything out. Basically, affirmative action is when 50 years ago, what we found out was that there weren't enough Blacks, Hispanics, Asians entering into US colleges. So it wasn't a representation of the demographics of the actual country, America. It was basically all whites. Just to give you a stat, in 1960, the Black student population in Harvard plus Yale plus Princeton was only 15 people, not 15%, 15 people. I mean, that's a pretty staggering number. So in 1965, the president, at the time, President Johnson, introduced a law that allowed for colleges to actually look at race and determine, in terms of college applications, it wasn't just SAT scores, are they good at sports so they can get scholarships? It wasn't just recommendations, but also they introduced race into the equation. And it actually worked because from 1980 to 2020, the non-white participation in Ivy League schools jumped from 14% to 50%, which is actually a representation of the demographics of the country today. So I thought that I started thinking, was it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And the Supreme Court just banned it. Just to give you an idea, in Chile over here, when you apply for a job, we don't even put our photographs. We don't put religion and we don't put race. So, why different countries have different reasons. So, what are your thoughts on the topic, Sabrina, given that you studied in a college in America?
You know, the concept of of affirmative action was to advance racial equality. Just like you said it perfectly. And Lyndon B. Johnson, when he introduced that law, it was also for the workplace. You said when people apply for jobs in Chile, they don't put a picture of themselves. Here, they don't put a picture of themselves either, but you go in for an interview. Now you could get any information you want, almost any information you want on the internet, right? So you could most likely guess the race of the person. Um, and the
By the name.
statistics show by the name, by if I find a picture of someone on the internet, that's applying for a job or applying to enroll in
Yeah,
a
social
school.
media.
Yeah, social media is huge now. It's
Yeah,
changed the way we do things. So your statistics prove that affirmative action did work and did it shows the demographics of our country even more. And I find it very disappointing that the Supreme Court struck it down. The climate of the US right now, the Supreme Court is extremely conservative, and they've struck down a lot of laws that provide rights for people that wouldn't have those rights before. And I think it's very disappointing.
yeah,
And I think we're going to see the enrollment at universities, the diversity in these schools, um, not be as diverse, which is something that,
yeah.
as a mom, I want my child to go somewhere where it's diverse. I think you learn so much from other types of people. So I think it's very disappointing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, I don't know my history of America, but how long did slavery last? Uh, and is it a 200-year thing? Is it a 400-year thing? Because it struck me that President Johnson did this in 1965, but 100 years before that, in 1865, slavery was abolished by law in America. So
Right.
why did it take 100 years? I mean, in the greatest country in the world, what kind of a process takes 100 years for it to be implemented? Imagine being black in America between 1865 and 1965. You can't get an education, you can't get a bank loan, you can't do much. I mean,
Can't
they've
vote.
really had it tough.
Yeah, you can't
You
vote.
can't vote. Yeah, but
Think
then,
about it. Our founding fathers of this great nation, which I love this country, but our founding fathers, many of them were slave owners, so
yeah,
it took a while to get there. And still today, are
yeah,
we, in Georgia, we're still, trying to fight election laws so that Black people have less of a chance to get to the polling sites, versus people who are in an economically better place. So we're still dealing with certain things. I don't know if it'll ever go
mm,
away.
yeah. I mean, I believe in equality of opportunity, but obviously not of outcome. The outcome depends on your hard work. But to have the same level playing field and the opportunity to participate and enter into colleges, I think that's that should be law.
I
I
agree with
have
you
some
that
other thoughts on
I
it.
have a point though. I agree with you that it's
Tell me.
hard work, but it's also opportunities. So a lot of the kids that affirmative action helps don't have the opportunities that others do. So we're talking about access to college information. Are the colleges going to the
Yeah,
schools where in poorer communities? Legacy. If someone's father or mother went to a university, they have a better chance of getting in. And then even SAT prep courses, things like that. I mean, a lot of
mm,
students in poor
got it.
communities don't have that. So I think it's hard work. I do agree with you, but I also think it's opportunity.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the other side, Sabrina, because I think imagine there's 100 places for Harvard, and there are 100 uh, Asians who have much higher scores in maths and science than 100 Hispanics or 100 Blacks. Because of this segregation and affirmative action, you are taking away the opportunity of potentially X number of people in a community that has better grades, and you're taking that opportunity and giving it to somebody because of race. So I don't think that's fair for the whites or for the Asians who actually have worked hard and have high grades. So I think we got to consider all things and not just race. I don't like it when they use race as an excuse. I don't like it, to be honest with you, in today's day and age, when companies have programs just for women, women coding. Men need coding too, like women management. I don't know. I just don't like when they.
Can I ask
Uh,
you, do you feel,
sure.
let's take the example of women coding versus men coding, you know
Sure.
In this world, it is a fact that coding is predominantly a male oriented industry. So by promoting women in coding, that will bring more women on board, right? I think that's the objective of having these classes. Just like, well, I'm going to throw it back to you now. Do you think removing
Yeah.
affirmative action will reduce the diversity in universities?
So let's do the woman part first, right? So I feel that women can have the same opportunity as men to do the coding. And I'm okay with companies want to sponsor and do some charitable work and help women with programs. But when it comes to getting the final job, I don't think a woman should be considered over a man if they have the same skill sets because of her sex. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah. Got it. And affirmative action, I think now that we've reached a stage where, you are 50% white, 50% non-white, and that's pretty much the demographics of that particular region or country, I think the solution is not in affirmative action. Uh, I think the institution should have their own policy if it's a
Mhm.
private company and choose. Uh, just like a private company can choose hiring A versus B. However, I am aware that many of these private institutions receive an exceeding amount of money from public funds to help them. I would argue, Sabrina, the solution is a demand supply basic economics equation. I think with the endowment policies that Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, Yale have, I'm not talking about 25, $50 million. I'm talking about 25, 50, $70 billion.
Mhm.
And this paying taxation of 1.4% when companies are paying over 20 doesn't cut it for me. If you look at Louis Vuitton, which also works in terms of scarcity, Louis Vuitton today is everywhere. Apart from online, they're in over 100 countries. Why is Harvard not in 100 countries? With the amount of money they have, I say tax these institutions that have huge endowment policies. 1.4% doesn't cut it. They have to put at least 30, 40% a year in growth, in increasing the supply, so that more students are able to actually get the same opportunities. And if you increase the supply, what happens? Price goes down, basic economics. So I think
This
the
is
solution is on.
no, go ahead, finish. Sorry. Go ahead and
No,
finish.
no, no, no. I just think, no. So my point is affirmative action or not, I think it's more demand supply. I think these schools have the resources to increase the supply. So I don't like this, or the quality of the education is going to go down. The quality of Louis Vuitton has not gone down because they've opened up more stores. So I think that's a bullshit argument that I've heard before. And I think it's time the government says, or you open up X number of seats every year, or your tax goes from 1.4 to 14 to 24, etc. And then we will create competitors to Harvard and Stanford. So I think that's the real solution, which I'm surprised Americans are not really pushing for.
So I'm going to disagree with you again and give you another perspective.
Great.
Harvard, Yale, Princeton, the Ivy Leagues, Columbia, Stanford, the Ivy of the West, they call it. If they had 100 campuses, even another one or two campuses in other parts of the world, I think, and I know you disagree with this, I think it would diminish the brand. There is a reason these are elite schools. I guarantee if we said, hey, Oxford needs to open up a campus here in the US, right? I think people who went to Oxford would disagree with that. They're like, no, this is Oxford. This is an institution that has been around for so long. I also think that people who are the big contributors to these endowments, the private individuals, might not want to see that. There's a reason there's one Harvard because there's an elite status. And I think opening more, just like Louis Vuitton, let's be honest, it is still Louis Vuitton. It's still a big brand. It's still a designer. But there's people of all income levels now going in to get Louis Vuitton bags. And now there's fakes. They've saturated the market. I would hate to see a Harvard become, oh, you went to that Harvard. You didn't go to the real
Yeah,
Harvard, right? That's how I
got it.
see it. I also think you
I
said with race, I think even when we remove affirmative action, and if we had several, say we had several Harvard campuses, race is always going to be an issue here in the US. It is. The last few years, it's even heightened even more. So I don't think that's going away.
got it. So I hear you. I just don't think education should be an elite symbol. I think education should be an equality and everyone
Yep.
should have the same opportunity. And therefore, the government that does help many of these US Ivy League schools should make it mandatory or tax them. And I think let's try, let's open up some more Harvard campuses and see if the level of education drops. I just think once you increase the supply, the price will go down automatically. But I get your point. And like Biden tried to get political votes and introduced student debt. We will cancel student debt, and that was about $500 billion,
Right.
which obviously the government somebody has to pay for it. Instead of 500 billion in eliminating debt, that 500 billion open up freaking how much is it cost to open up a school? $1 billion less. Open up
Do you
500 other schools, increase
have
supply.
your college education? Do you know how much they charged
Yeah,
in tuition each year?
mine.
Any idea?
I
Yeah.
went King's College. Yeah, so actually, I had a Spanish passport, right? So we had free education. The EU
Yeah.
paid for that.
That's not the case
But
in the
even like
US.
the student loans, no, I know, but even the student loans on average that the student has to pay, I read somewhere is like 500 US dollars a month, right? So 500 US dollars a month on average. I know some people are paying 3 grand,
Yes.
but $500 a month for a student when they finish studying, and if they get a job, is a reasonable amount that they're able to pay it back. If they're not able to pay it back, if they're not, then I feel whoever gave them that loan or that school can then maybe pay 20%, 30% of the loan
They
and
are
then,
able to
call it
defer
bad
it.
debt.
They are able to apply for a deferment, which I believe student loan companies are pretty reasonable about that.
Yeah. I just think, if you're giving $1 trillion for these wars in Middle East, if you're giving $500 billion now, for student relief debt, uh, and look at the prices of these colleges. They've gone up over 1,000% in
Yeah.
the last 2 decades.
Hey, let's
So
be
again,
honest.
it's demand supply.
My husband always, well, Noel, always says this. By the time our kids are of college age, which is 8 to 10 years from now, will the bricks and mortar concept of college institutions still be around? We don't know. Things are changing
We don't
rapidly. So,
know. We don't
yeah.
know. We really don't know. But
Your favorite topic,
uh,
AI. Are they going to be doing, are they going to be learning through AI instead? That's going to be interesting to see.
I don't know. I just think that America, the greatest democracy of the world, greatest technology, uh, you know, the greatest companies, uh, freedom, democracy. You're leading in so many things, and I think the demographics now, this 50% is reasonable. I'm okay with scrapping affirmative action and focus on vocational skills, plumbing and things where people actually can get a job. Vocational, I don't know if you know, in Germany,
Mhm.
50% of the workforce have a vocational skill. In America, it's under 5%.
Yeah,
So,
because you're learning and
anyway,
actually.
let's not, yeah, you're actually learning on the job. Yeah. So it was just an interesting topic I wanted to discuss with you, Sabrina, and get your thoughts since you went to college in America.
It's very interesting, and this topic is a hot button topic here in the US, and it's going to continue for who knows how long.
Yeah. As long as you don't talk about guns in America or the number of people incarcerated in America or
The
your
upcoming
political system and
presidential
Trump,
campaign. Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy to talk about anything else you want. But those are my three topics I'd rather stay away from. Sabrina, should we bring on the guest?
I would love to bring on our guest today. So, Amitu, today's guest is Payal Mirchandani. And Payal is the founder and CEO of PincaBrands.com. She founded this in 2011, and it has grown from a home based business in Dubai to a full fledged children's products distribution business servicing approximately 500 doors across the Middle East region. The company represents an impressive portfolio of globally recognized brands, including Disney, Fisher Price, Pokemon, Barbie, which is such a big hit right now with the upcoming movie, and many others. So, welcome, Payal.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks for being with us.
Payal, good to see you. It's been a while.
Same here. Same here.
Payal, I just had a son and I named him Aman. I know your son's called Aman as well.
Yes, when I saw that, I'm like, he's going to be a superstar like my son.
Let's hope so. Payal, let's jump right in. Let's jump right in. I mean, before we get into your business in Dubai and all your
Yeah.
success, I want to start from the beginning. I remember we
Okay.
met in London. We both went to King's College, and even
Yeah.
before that, you were born in Lagos. You studied in
You
Canada.
have a
Can you give
connection
us?
with Lagos, right?
Yeah, we've got a few friends in Lagos
Yeah.
still there.
Yeah.
But tell us about that. Tell us about your upbringing, please.
Okay. Yeah, so I was born in Lagos. I think that was truly a great place to start my life, to be honest. I remember my childhood so vividly because it was just so simple. So I was there until I was 10. I have a brother, so we live there. My parents are still there, actually. They've been there for 45, 46 years now. And then I moved to Canada. So basically, what happened is that usually by grade 5, grade 6, a lot of the parents who want to send their kids to international school, they would send them to London to boarding school. So generally,
Yeah,
a lot of my friends either moved on to boarding school or they were staying in Lagos in the Indian school. But my parents didn't want me to go to boarding school, so they sent me to
boarding school.
Canada to live with. Yeah, most of the most of the people that wanted their kids to have this international exposure. And then they sent me to Canada to live with my dad's brother, my chacha, and so I lived with them. My brother and I both moved. We moved to Canada instead of going to boarding school. So
Where in
yeah,
Canada were you?
I was in
Where in
Toronto. So I
In Toronto.
moved there in Toronto. Yeah, in Toronto. So I lived with my uncle for 7 years. I did
What, you
my
were
high
10?
school there. I was
What
10. Yeah,
age?
I was 10 to 17 basically. So I fast tracked. I wanted to finish high school quicker, wanted to get off to university, and then I didn't want to stay in Toronto anymore because Toronto was very far from me, from my family. So I decided that London would be a good option, and I applied to King's College London, where I met Amit. And
Your life
yeah, it was a biomedical
after that.
science degree.
Your lucky
Oh,
day.
sure, that's what you want to believe. But it was fun. London was fun. Yeah. But anyway, yes, I moved to London, and it was the first time that. Well, look, I haven't. I wasn't living with my parents since I was 10. So for me, it wasn't like such a big step to go to university and be away from family. I'd already been away from family. It was more. I was actually getting closer to them.
Okay,
Hmm.
very
So yeah,
good. And so
yeah,
you joined the health industry after college, but before we get into
yeah.
that, did you always have that entrepreneurial spirit in you, that itch to
Um,
start a business and
to
Start
be
your own
honest,
thing.
no, I didn't think I did, to be honest, because in Toronto, where I grew up, my uncle's house is in a in a community that's all professionals. So I grew up with doctors and accountants and dentists and everything. So I generally, that's 10 to 17 years. That's your formative years, right? Of how you're thinking, where what your strengths are, what you want to do. So I always
For
thought that, oh,
girls.
you know what,
For
for girls,
girls.
okay,
For
okay.
boys, it's a bit older.
It's different. It's different.
That's
But I
true.
mean, in terms of the foundation, the exposure, I wasn't living with my dad at that time, so I didn't have that entrepreneurial kind of environment, at that age. So went to King's doing biomedical science. So, and I remember in King's, I had a roommate who was a smoker. And every time I would travel and my parents would travel, she would say, "Can you just get me smokes from duty free?" And my dad would be like, "Oh, Lagos is really cheap, so I can buy it to you from Lagos." And I'm like, "Are they real? Like, is it real?" But anyway, my friend was open to it. And so I started buying her cigarettes from, she would pay me for it, and started buying her cigarettes from Lagos. And then she said, "Oh, I have a great business idea. Why don't you, sell them in College Hall where I was staying? And you give me the free cigarettes." So basically, the deal was she would bring the customers to me, but I would reward her by giving her free cigarettes. So it's
Fair
a
deal.
win-win situation, right?
See, so it was
Obviously,
always
I
in
didn't
you.
think about. Yeah, I think somewhere in there that was a spark. I was like, "Wow, I'm pretty good at this." So
I had no idea,
yeah, that's how
no
it
idea in
started.
college you were doing this.
It's not something that I would share with people, like selling
Hmm,
cigarettes.
And now it's
got it.
But
going to be
it was an
shared with
opportunity
all.
that came my way.
Yeah, now it'll be shared with all our
Sorry.
subscribers. Now it's going to be shared with all of our
Yeah, now
subscribers.
it's with everybody. Now I'm too old to worry about it, right? So,
Exactly,
Now
exactly.
Sabrina's mom and my mom know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay.
We have a similar story that I want to share before we continue with your journey. So I'm
Go
in
Sure.
for it.
college.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in college, and there is a guy who lives in my dorm, and he we lived in a town called Gainesville, but he had come from Orlando. He had worked at a video store, regular video store in the front. In the back, there's pornography tapes, right? So he
Right.
started stealing them and would bring
Oh,
them to the dorms. And I was friends with a
okay.
lot of the football players at the University of Florida because my roommate was dating one. And so he said,
Okay.
"Sabrina, if you like, I want to sell it to them. Can you ask them?" And I was
Can
like, "Well,
you? Yeah.
I want to cut." And he's like, "Okay, I'll give
Yeah.
you, I don't remember the exact amount. It was so long ago, but he's
Yeah.
like, sell it for, $15 and I'll give you $5 per tape." And I was like, this guy. So I would sell it for about 20
Yeah.
bucks, keep my five he didn't
Okay.
know about, then get another five and
Yeah.
he got 10. But I never watched them. I would just sell them. And so
Yeah,
very similar story.
exactly. Yeah, I'm not a smoker either. So it was one of those things where like, yeah, if I'm making money off of it I mean, I wouldn't do it now because I have kids, but I was
Exactly.
18 or 19 or whatever.
Yeah. But see, I
So
think
Sabrina,
it's
yeah.
us.
Sabrina, the best
Yes.
thing of the pod is I learned new things about you. A few weeks ago, I learned that you were Miss Florida Universe. Now I learned that you've got experience in the pornography
Oh,
industry.
wow. Okay.
Like, honestly, the things I'm learning from you, Sabrina, as my cousin, I had no idea. It's reason enough to do the pod. So thank you for
Your
that.
mom is going to be
Um,
shocked. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
let's continue.
So walk us through Canada. When did you leave Canada? Did you work in Canada after your degree? Tell us about that
Okay.
time of your life.
So after I finished King's, I did my master's in health administration at University of Surrey. Um, and then I decided that, what am I going to do? How am I going to get a job in London? I'm going to look back in Canada. And I actually, which is really interesting story, um, I decided that I was just going to write a letter to every CEO of major hospital in Toronto because I was going on a holiday to Toronto and I'm going to see if I can get a job. So I wrote letters to like the CEO of North York General Hospital, to Mount Sinai Hospital, and things like that, in hopes of, I'm like, oh, I don't know if they're going to write back, but let me try. And I got some great responses. So when I went to Toronto, I met a couple of CEOs and I said, look, I have this degree. Is there any way I could, how can I use it? Can I work in your hospital? And funnily enough, there was at the Centenary Hospital. It's now called Rouge Valley Health System. I got along really well with the CEO. His name was Mr. Alan Whiting. He took a liking to me and told me, why don't you apply for the administrative fellowship that we have in the hospital? And that's how my journey began to go back to Toronto. I applied. This was the first time they awarded it to two individuals, one who's a Canadian and one myself. And that's how I got into the health industry, and I moved back to Toronto.
But do they need to sponsor you,
So
or you had a
actually,
Canadian
so when
citizenship?
no, I didn't have a Canadian citizenship at that time. So when I was awarded the fellowship, I went to meet him and I said, "Look, I'll hire the lawyer, but I would need you to sign on the paper, like
Yeah,
And they did,
sure,
and
which they
they
agreed.
agreed to that. And yes, yes. So
But
that's how
Pyle,
that whole my journey to go back. Yeah,
that already says so much about you, because at that age, right out of school, you were doing something that other people in your position weren't doing, which was you were reaching out to them,
yeah.
and being aggressive in that way. So I mean, that shows leadership qualities right there. So then you're in
Thank
healthcare
you.
administration for how long?
I did it for a couple of years because that was a fellowship, and then as I finished the fellowship, the major project that I got, I was successful in actually is it was e-health, or what they call telehealth. It was very new. It was very very new. It was a project between Rouge Valley Health System and Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, and it was they were the specialist, and it was this whole thing of setting it up and trying it. So I was part of that, but given that it was so new, the government didn't have funding for it. So after I finished the project, they hired me to continue. After I finished the project under the fellowship, they hired me to continue the project as a paid employee. And then the funding ran out. So I had to look for another job. And I couldn't find another job in e-health. But I saw an ad somewhere, I'm sure, because I can't remember now, but I saw an ad somewhere about e-business program. I was like, okay, this is interesting because we're all very new, right? In those days, I mean, okay, what is e-business? Oh, let me just go and, e-health is new. It's an up and coming. It's a trend. Maybe I should learn about e-business. And
Like
that's how
AI now.
yeah, like AI now. So that was then. So I did a course at Centennial College, and I did the e-business course in Centennial College. And then from that, I basically I met some amazing people and started a business in web design. I don't know how. Sometimes these opportunities just knock on your door and you don't say no. And my
In
friend said, "Oh,
Canada.
in Canada. This is all in Canada now." So from um, after the e-business, I started a company called Papaya Solutions. So it was a
Doing
web
what?
design and
Web design,
web
e-commerce.
design database. It was more at that point. I was the sales, and she was the tech. So I can sell anything if I believe in it. So we started that. Like I said, it was called Papaya Solutions, and then she decided she wanted to move back to India, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to move on my own. So we it wasn't significant enough to sell it, so we closed it. Um, and yeah, so that was, and then I moved on to other businesses to try it out.
So did you move to Dubai from Canada directly? And did you move because you fell in love with Nihal and you got married?
Hmm.
Or did you move to
Hmm.
Dubai and over there you met your husband to be?
No, I was in Toronto running my wedding planning business, weddingguru.com, and that was going really well for 5 years. And then I met Nihal. I was on my way to a big fat Sindhi wedding in Bali. Like all our Sindhi weddings mainly are when we want to have these international weddings. But anyway, it was a big fat Sindhi wedding, and I was on my way to Bali, and a friend of mine told me wanted to meet my friend in Dubai. And I was like, honestly, being in Toronto, I didn't really know much about Dubai, even though my parents, obviously, people, right? I mean, it's just I had never been to Dubai when I was older, but I was stopping by. I met him, went to the wedding, came back, met him again, went back to Toronto, and we just kept in touch. Um,
Was it
and yeah,
fireworks from day one? Obviously, if you met him
uh,
and then met him back again, was it,
Well,
were they
unfortunately, I met him at the time when actually I had recently called my wedding off in Toronto. I was dating somebody, and we were like almost going to get married, and then we called the wedding off. So when I met
okay?
him, I think I already had like this barrier,
Barrier.
right? Like there was not going to be sparks because I was like, are we sure? Do we know? So yeah, I think it was just because of that. I wasn't going, it wasn't a clear mind. It was more very guarded.
Well, it's brave of you to meet somebody when you're in that,
Exactly.
mindset as well. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So you have this wedding business, right? And it's e-commerce.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then you
Yes.
meet your future husband, you move to Dubai, and maybe fast tracking,
Hmm.
correct me if I'm wrong. How did is the next venture Pinca Brands?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. And how did you get into
Was
that?
it because you had kids? Like, yeah, why did you think of that
Yeah, yeah.
category?
Yeah, so basically, I thought of it because I was pregnant with my first child, Aman, and I was looking for something, and like I say, I don't remember why I decided to look for this playmat because I cannot remember. I was just one of those moms that was, I don't know, like reading everything, wanting to the best thing would be, like most first time moms are. So I don't remember why, but I know I was looking for this playmat. That was, I must have read that you should not put a baby on fabric mats because they can inhale something or they can get asthma or something. I don't know. I must have read something like that. And I started looking for this non toxic playmat and I couldn't find it anywhere. I looked all over Dubai, I couldn't find anywhere. And then I actually found it online in Toronto. It is a Korean brand called Dwingular. And I was like, aha, this is what everybody in Dubai needs. Every mom needs it. And I was pregnant. So I told Nihal, so my husband is ex Unilever. So he's from a distribution background. So I told him, Nihal, I don't know anything about distribution. But what I do know is every mom needs to have this product. So you need to
Nihal,
go
do
to
it for me.
Korea. Yeah, you need to go to Korea. I need to get the distribution rights, whatever we need to do, and I will sell. So that's how it happened. So that's how Pinka was born, actually, because it was just a product that that I, as a mom, I was looking for, and I just thought that other people needed it, and hence, yeah, 11 years or 12 years later, we're here.
My wife has done the same thing to me. Every child, first child, there was 20 brands she sent me. Second child, there was 10 brands. Third child, she stopped sending me. I'm like,
Yeah,
because every time she sent me something, I'm like, you are qualified. Believe in yourself. Do it yourself. Leave husband out.
you're so funny.
Like, you can do it.
Oh my god.
No, because she's quite indecisive. So she likes something. She said, if I'm willing to pay for it, I know 30 mothers in our group that are willing to pay for it.
Yes.
It must be a big
Yeah.
business. Ahmed, you sell quite a bit online. You do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, Apple, Samsung,
I know.
GoPro, and then some unknown brand of
Brand.
toys, for I'm like, you know what, Chandni, like knock yourself out. If you need help, I'll do the e-commerce for you, I'll finance it, I'll do the
Yeah.
customs clearing for you, but do it yourself, you're
You do
capable.
everything else.
Yeah, correct. So just
Pyle,
listening to your story, uh
yeah,
yeah.
it reminds you of that. I was going to say, Pyle, so do you remember how many playmats you sold? It's your first product.
Oh my God. I would
Guesstimate.
probably say 80,000 because we started, or maybe even more.
But your first product, that's amazing. So then
Yes.
you're
No,
like, okay,
because
80,000,
what happened
8 million.
was, yeah, yeah, because what happened was it started going to Qatar at that time. We were exporting as well, so it was doing really well. It was the only playmat in the business. Like, let's put it that way. It was the first product, and it was a product that a lot of toy stores never kept. Like, they just didn't have a category for it. So when we introduced it, it was, like a carpet, like sizing. It's not like a normal playmat that you see, like a Fisher Price playmat that you put on the floor. This is like a carpet size, 2 meter by 3 meter like sizes. So you're paying $300 for a playmat. So you were attracting a lot of like the sheikhs over here that were buying it for their big villas and things like that. So it just became very well known because that was the only high quality product in the market.
So give us an idea of where the business is today,
Um,
like
today,
size.
yeah. Okay, so as you know, and I think I've shared with you guys that it was a home-based business. So obviously, it was just me, and I had one employee. Nehal helps me when I need some help. And now we are approximately 30 employees in the business. So the first 5 years was very slow because I wasn't growing the business. I was just working from home. I didn't have any ambition with it in terms of growth. So I would say we really only started growing 5 years ago. Let's put it that way. We've now GCC wide. So when I say GCC wide, I'm talking about the Gulf. So UAE, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi. Of course, Saudi is the biggest market. So we're across the entire region.
If you give me distribution rights of all your brands, I'm ready to be your partner overnight. I'm not even
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh, we might have
I'm,
a deal
I
on
actually just
We'll take that
I spoke
discussion
to,
offline.
no, no,
that.
no, no, we'll do it online. I spoke to one of the brands. I don't know if it was Mattel or Hasbro, and
Sure.
obviously huge brands. And they actually, one of them said, we have a middleman, so contact the middleman over here. And I sent him all
Yeah,
my information a month ago, and I followed up with him 3 times, and I've had no reply. So
yeah, it's
anyway, I'll
hard.
keep.
It took me a long time to even be noticed by like, I mean, even get like a meeting. I had lots of meetings with Mattel, and I mean, they have old partnerships with people. So if you're new, it
Yeah,
takes a while. They want to see you stick it out, right? So now I was celebrating because finally a couple years ago, I started a conversation with Mattel, and about 8 months ago, we started importing some Mattel products. So it's not the Barbie dolls because Mattel Barbie as a brand is with a distributor for the last God knows how many years, but
Okay.
other categories, yeah. So it's a start.
Great, great.
yeah.
Start in the right
Just
direction.
a final point on this. I actually, in my warehouse next to Apple, I have diapers. So we actually
Okay,
sell online for Procter and Gamble, P&G, and J&J, Johnson and Johnson. We sell their products online as well because they're so
okay,
big that they don't have a
yes,
team that manages the last mile e-commerce.
okay.
So I've been looking at
That's a
toys
good
and
start.
educational. Yeah, it is, but the price points of diapers is so
Yeah,
low
yeah,
that
yeah.
I know it's a
I mean,
volume game.
I don't know. I've never done diapers, but there's a new one that's recently launched in our region, which is from the Spice Girl. One of the Spice Girls has launched a diaper brand. I don't know what
Okay,
that brand is, but it's now in UAE and the Middle East. But generally, I got the impression that it's a loss leader. So it's like people sell it just
got it.
to hook, but you're not selling it at a profit because you need the hook online, to get people to come and buy, and then you're trying to capture their attention to buy other products from you. This is the impression I got.
Yeah, it's a marketing customer acquisition tool.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Got
yeah.
it. Sabrina, where are we going from here?
Yeah,
Now,
I have
I
to
want to
know
know
about.
more about the business, but
I do too. Well, let's talk about I have one last question about the business. What's competition like in that area for you?
Oh, I think everybody thinks toys is easy. It's because everybody has also because families are larger here. Margins are better than some of the other industries. And so competition is fierce. When we go to toy fairs, um, the first thing I hear is, how many of you are here from the UAE this toy fair? Like, and I'm
Okay,
like,
wow.
well, we're one of the oldest ones, so you know who to work with. So it's just because there're just so many. The also the thing is, I can safely say I'm the only woman. When I first started the toy business, I was the only woman in the toy business. Now, of course, with the new guys coming up, there might be, but from a key player, I'm the only woman in the business in the region, I would say. So from that's a plus point, but from a competition, it's fierce because the more people that are getting into this industry, the more they're undercutting in terms of margins. They're giving consignment, they're giving whatever, lots of stuff to get shelf space. But there's
under the table
strategy. Yeah,
bribes.
yeah. And there's strategies, right? Like as a business owner, when you're new, and like for me, there are certain things that I won't do when I do business. So how do you build? So it's about strategy. Like how do you build a name for yourself when you don't have the big brands and you're new, right? That's how I built the business. You know what I mean? So competition can come now, but we're category leaders. So so the strategy has been pick a category and just become the best at it. So in our case, we became the best at like children's safe beauty products, because everything else was taken. And when we did beauty, when we started into cosmetics, I mean, I'm a woman. I have a daughter. I know that girls like to be like their moms, and they like to wear makeup. So it's safer to give a child safe products that are formulated for kids than to allow them to use your Mac and Chanel and whatever high street brand there is, right? So I decided that I can actually do more good, even if it's in beauty, which is controversial, but you can put out a lot of positive messages, right? It's about that, okay, yeah, you can wear makeup, but you're beautiful as it is. You don't need makeup to look beautiful. So you can use it as a way to start having a conversation in this space.
Yeah. I have a 10 year
What
old,
line?
a
Yeah,
10-year-old.
sorry, Sabrina, you go for it.
Yeah, I have a 10-year-old daughter, so I completely, see where you're coming from. Is that where We Are Pinka came? Is that the inspiration for it? Your kids?
Um, y- yes, and well, the inspiration is the kids again. So as my kids are growing, I'm seeing more opportunities, and as a mom of a tween and teen, and going to be teen, I think generally parents are. They're we're all lost in how to navigate this parenting space with this age group, right? Because they're so they have access to so much content and technology, and they're maturing faster. I don't know how to Sometimes I don't have the answers, and I think most when I talk to other moms in this space, it's the same. So I decided that I want to do something about it. I mean, I've been building a business where I felt like that I had no social impact. I can't. I mean, I because it's difficult. It's not easy to do business, firstly, and secondly, being in Middle East, it's also not easy to do business, right? Because we're not Arabic speakers. Um, and on top of that, so I haven't been able to. I felt like I was missing out on doing something that meant more than just running a business. So I decided to start We Are Pinka because I wanted to create a community for moms who have tweens and teens. I wanted to have tweens and teens as ambassadors to guide us as to what their pain points are, and to drive conversations around that. And then obviously have an e-commerce platform to monetize, a little bit by selling products that are specifically for tweens and teens. So it's a lifestyle e-commerce platform.
You
Yeah.
mentioned business in the Middle East, and it's kind of complicated, and there are lines that you wouldn't cross. Can you give us just any example when you actually had to say no to somebody, or you didn't go ahead with a deal because it reached a line you couldn't cross?
Um, well, I think I was alluding to something that you had said, where you talk about, paying under the table or things like that. That's something that I'm not going to build my business on that. For some people, when I talk to them, they're like, it's part of business. And it is part of
Yeah,
business for a lot of people, but for me, I then don't feel that I'm a good business. I'm not a good, not that I'm not a good, um, anybody can do that. Like we can all just throw money and build our businesses, right? I wanted to do it the right way. So I wanted to, for me, like I felt like I needed to do it for myself, where
yeah,
I built a business. Like now I can look back and say, okay, I built a business because I provided the best customer service. I followed through on everything I said I would do. I built strong relationships. So I feel proud of the fact that I was able to build a business by doing that, if you know what I mean. Even though it might
yeah.
have taken me a little longer, but
You know,
Little
that's
longer
I
okay.
limit.
yeah, I wanna
Yeah.
share something that happened to me, Sabrina. I haven't told you. When I was in Bangalore, in India, I had hotels and service apartments that we managed. And we worked with a lot of Goldman Sachs, Air France, banks, etc. And one large customer, which I will not name, the guy who books the rooms called me up and said, "Hey, Amit, you're giving us a 15% discount We appreciate that, but I want to come and meet you and discuss the deal. So I said, sure, I'm in the office. Blah, blah, blah. He goes, no, I want to come to your home. I thought it was a bit weird, but I gave him my home address. And it was really weird. When I opened the door, he showed up with his wife. I was like, what's going on here? You know? And he goes, Amit, this is, Prachi, blah, blah, blah. Uh, this 15% discount that you're giving us as a multinational, give us the full rate and the 15% discount. You give it to my
Mm,
wife in cash. She will come to your house on a monthly basis. And I actually have shareholders and, like a board. So I was a bit uncomfortable with the situation. And the investors I had a lot of experience working in India. And not one of them said, don't do it. All of them said, it's India. This is
it's
India.
India, exactly.
Absolutely. You need the business. You don't have more than 70% occupancy in your service apartment. If you're getting the same deal and it doesn't cost you more because the 15% discount, the company's willing to pay for it, and you now have to give it to this woman's name in cash, this is 100% how India works, and do it. And it just struck me that for me, it was I lost sleep. It was such a hard decision for me
Yeah.
to make. And all my investors were like, are you crazy? Like, why are you even thinking twice about it? So anyway, sorry, I didn't want to get out of the conversation, but it was just something that happened to me in India. And I don't know what it's like working in the Middle East because I haven't done it, but it was just something that reminded me of
It's the
that story.
same. India, Dubai, India, Middle East, same, same.
Yeah.
So,
Sabrina, I just looked at the time. I think we need to jump into your success topic.
Sure. So, Payal, tell me, what does success mean to
yes.
you?
Okay. Well, success, I would say, if I had to just generalize it, because when you dig deeper, there's so many different answers. But I
Dig
think
deep.
for me, it's
You're allowed to dig deep.
always, yeah. So I think for me, it's always it's adding value. It's contributing, improving, bettering. Like I feel like at every step of the way, if if I have bettered my financial situation, if I've improved somebody's life, if I've bettered where I am, like where I was from last year, I'm a much more calmer person. I feel like I'm successful for everything. Like I feel at the end of the day, um, I feel that I've been successful in what I'm meant to do, whether it's with my kids, and even as a mom, like for me, success is, when I see that my child finally says his please and thank yous, and I'm like, okay, I've done a good job instead of having to tell them, like simple things like
Absolutely.
that. And so that's a little rewarding, but I think if I had to look at the whole thing, whether it's my business, even as a business, if I, by growing my business, I'm improving somebody's life, right? My employees, they're getting better, they're getting more money, I'm able to grow their life where their families are better. So it's always about um, adding value, helping, giving, bettering. Like that whole thing is what I would define as success for me.
Got it. And you
And so it makes
mentioned,
it easier it makes it easier to also then tick it, like, okay, yeah, like, yes, I did achieve that.
sure. So it's a daily improvement. It's the process of improvement.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about the Isha Foundation and that it was a game changer for you. And Sabrina and I have
Yes.
no idea what that is. Is that a Middle Eastern
No,
thing?
no, have you gone on YouTube? Have you ever heard of Sadhguru's
Yeah.
talks? So
Yes.
Sadhguru started the Isha Foundation.
Oh,
And
okay. Got it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Got it.
he's the guy behind the Isha Foundation.
Got it. I
And
didn't know it was called Isha.
yeah, so it's called Isha, yeah. So basically, a game changer in the sense that when I went for the retreat, they had something called inner engineering program. I went for it probably 8 years ago now, and it they teach you a whole sadhana, like a meditation process to do, part of this inner engineering program. And I started doing it, and it was a game changer because it just changed my perspective on life, on how I handle problems, it helps me at work every day. It helps me at home every day. So game changer, because I think before that I was, highly stressed, anxious. When you run a business and you're having to worry about people's salaries and whatever. There is a stress because of how the business model works here. But once I did that program, I just felt that I was in flow with what was meant to be and how I reacted to situations. And so the sadhana, what we call the sadhana, like it's a 21-minute process that you do in the mornings. And yeah, like I urge every entrepreneur to do it, every person to do it. But as entrepreneurs, it actually
It
helps
helped you.
a lot.
Got it.
Yes.
Payal, do
Got it.
you teach that, what
Yeah.
you learned there, do you teach that to your kids? Just curious.
No, I have registered them to do the program. So they do have like kids programs during the summer and things. I think once they're a little older, because right now I'm not sure. I've planted the seed.
Yeah,
Like when my son was 8 years old, I got him to do a yoga program, and he was so young at that time and said yes to everything I told him to do. So
true.
I was like, "You've got to do a yoga program," and he said, "Okay," and then he went. So I felt like I planted the seed. Now I'm going to get both of them to do it, hopefully sometime soon. I just
Yeah,
I just think these are tools that, they may not need it, but it's tools to just help you when you really need it.
of course. So tell me how old your kids are.
My kids are
Mhm.
my daughter's going to be 10 and my son is 12. He's a New Year baby, so he'll turn 13 Jan 1st.
Okay, my husband's a New Year baby too. So I
Oh,
wanted to
really?
ask, you have We Are Pinka. And so you're
Yes.
doing a lot of providing a lot of information for tweens, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on social media usage, TikTok, technology usage at this age?
Screen time. Screen time. How many
Screen
hours a
time.
day?
Oh, honestly, it's a difficult one because I don't want my kids to be on screen. But, you know, if you ask me as a mom, I don't think it's a good thing at all. If you ask me just as somebody that lives in this, just as a human being on the planet in this time where everything is technology. I mean, we can't put our phone down without communicating or doing anything. They need to know that. They need to be able to be competitive in this space. So yes, it's good for them, but how do we teach them to make the right choices, right? To how much time is too much screen time, or how much, I don't think TikTok, and Snapchat is very big here. So Snapchat, TikTok, and yeah, any kind of social stuff. I don't think it's a good thing, but I don't think we can avoid it. So my whole take on it is, how do we as parents need to teach our children how to make better choices, because this is not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. And they are open to it. They are doing it whether you like it or not, right? Even if and if their friends have it, they have the pressure to want to have it too. So my I guess my perspective on it is, yes, you try because you're a parent, you're going to try to limit whatever, but the bigger job for us to do is how do we teach them to make those decisions and be aware of, to stop watching too much screen, or realizing that they've been on the screen for the last 3 hours, or did they get physical exercise, were they social, did they step out, you know those
Doing a
types of
balance,
things. Because I
right?
don't think yeah, we're not gonna get away from this. I mean, as you saw, like Threads is on. I mean, and there's nobody engaging as such at the moment, but there is Threads, there's AI. I mean, there's so much happening. Chat GPT. My son told me, "Oh, I wrote my poem on Chat GPT." I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, this is just great. Like,
But the fact that a
okay,
12-year-old is
so
using it is it's showing you
oh,
what
they
the
know
future
everything. Like,
is. Yeah, it really
yes.
is.
So, and that's what I mean. Like, I don't think this is what I mean. Like, it's such a big force. I don't think that we can, it's just, this is the age they're born in. So, this is all they know. So, I think our job as parents is to just figure out how to make them aware, how to make them
It was
smarter,
just
security,
for
like,
me,
safe.
right. For me, it was just a year ago when she started fourth grade here, where I noticed she started getting a little bit more addicted to the screen time. And I actually
Yeah.
got fed up with it. And I said, that's it. During Monday through Friday, no iPad. And then the weekends you can
No,
enjoy, but then we're so busy with, soccer,
I know.
birthday parties.
Yeah.
So this summer, I've seen a big change because I have not she can use it, but I've noticed,
Yeah.
but just like us, we just grab our phones
Yes.
every,
Yes.
every
Yeah.
second.
It's
So,
it's it's just the psychology of it, right? As well. It's
mhm,
just that's entertainment, like we would go switch on the TV. This is their form of entertainment. So,
exactly.
and I was just telling my son the other day, like, oh, when we used to sit and watch TV, the big thing was, are you going to be a couch potato? Like the whole couch potato, so I'm like, okay, so we need to understand, you need to be aware that you've been sitting in front of that bloody screen gaming. Okay, so he's gaming. He's not, I mean, he does have a phone and all of that, but he's gaming a lot. So, are you aware of how long you've sat and just been gaming?
Yeah.
Stuff
Yeah,
like that. So,
I'm failing in that department. My son is a YouTube Mr. Beast addict.
yeah.
Um, Guys, time management wise, I think we should jump into some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Over here, Payal, Sabrina and I will just alternate and ask you simple questions. If you can just keep your
Okay.
answer as short as possible, I
Okay.
would appreciate that. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll start, Sabrina. Give us your role models, business role models or personal role models. Two, three names.
Well, my father, and is my number one role model, both personally and business, I would say. And that would be my main role model, actually. So I would like to stick to only one.
Good enough.
Wonderful.
Sabrina?
Is there a book that you like to reread, to recommend to others, to gift to others?
The book that had the most impact on me is Tuesdays with Maury. So it's it was just about life, right? And he just kind of went through, he was dying, and so I really think that puts everything into perspective when you think
Perspective.
about it. So that would be a book that I
That's
would
a great book. I
yeah.
need to reread that. It's been many
It's a
years.
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
one. It's been too long.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you have an FU money, like a fuck you money? Once I have this in the bank, I'm retiring. Have you thought about that number?
No, because I haven't thought about retiring.
Okay,
I've just thought about, so retiring would probably be slowing down. I haven't really thought about it from that perspective. I've just thought about it from, I want to have like six different properties that I could just go to when when it's too hot in Dubai, I can go to Spain, or I can go to Canada if we want to go see the snow. So we've just kind of thought about it from that point of view, but no, we haven't put a number to
that means you'll be
retirement.
out of Dubai 10 months of the year because it's too hot in Dubai the
Yeah,
whole year.
yeah, yeah.
Sabrina?
We said 6 months of the year.
Yeah, got it. Sabrina?
Name one thing that makes you smile or laugh.
Um, when I see I guess my kids. I mean, it's such a predictable answer, but my kids and my dogs, and yeah, like when they play and they're just free. I think that's what makes me happy and makes me laugh.
Fair enough. Um, Last one, your legacy. In a few words, you know, what would you like to be remembered for? Sorry, my questions are more about retirement and death.
I So I want to be remembered for all the people that I've helped. I think when I think about it through my business, I'm constantly looking at how I can help people, how I can give back, how I can help entrepreneurs, how can I help people better themselves at work. So and also the second thing I thought about was, um, as a business owner, as a person that, if you've heard my life story, it's always been trying, something new, being the first at something. Even as I built my business, I was the first in Playmats, I was the first in cosmetics, I'm the first doing something in tweens and teens. I'm always experimenting. So I guess that's really what, when I think about what people I want people to remember me for, is that I was, always trying to I was always trying to build something in a new space with new opportunities, and how much have I been able to give back.
Innovator.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
innovator, that's a good way to put it. One word,
Yeah,
innovator.
got it. Payal, it's great seeing you. I'm glad that you're crushing it in Dubai in your business and your life,
Thank you.
and
Thank
your
you.
family, your husband, loving husband, your two dogs, your two cats, your two kids. Looks
Thank
like you like to do things in
you.
twos.
Everything too.
I hope to visit Dubai soon, and I'll give you a call. We can do this
Yes,
in person
please
as well.
do. Please do.
Thank you.
Please do. It was lovely. Thank you for having me on your show, guys. You
Absolutely.
made it very easy, so thank you so much. You guys are great.
If somebody
And
wants to reach out to you, do you want to leave a Twitter handle or LinkedIn, any handle?
I'm not on Twitter, but LinkedIn is Payal Mirchandani. So that's the LinkedIn handle. They can reach out to
Only
me.
one Payal Mirchandani on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Got it.
the
Or they can look
pile.
up Pinca. Pinca is an unusual name. Pinca. Pinca.
Perfect.
Will
Perfect.
do.
Pile.
Thanks.
I love that you haven't been scared to be the first. So I look forward to
Yeah.
hearing about what's the next first you do. Thank you for
Thank
being with
you.
us.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Lovely to seeing you
Absolutely.
guys. Thank you so much.
You too. And this has been another episode of Indian Explorers. Uh, I'm sure you liked what you heard, so please subscribe and we will see you at the next episode. Thank you.
Bye.